Hey folks, it's CitizenWolf here. Just a quick message before I let you guys into the main part of the podcast. I would like to apologise in advance for the rather choppy audio quality on Severity's audio track. For whatever reason, quite a few things just didn't go to plan on the actual recording, which is rather unfortunate to say, and I'm rather pissed off about, to be brutally honest with you, because it's a really good fun interview, but it's just the audio quality isn't exactly amazing this time around. What I tend to usually do is I tend to get the other person on the other end of the Discord call, just in case there are any audio problems like that. I'd get them to record their audio their side, and then they can send the audio track and I can just drop it into the editing software. For whatever reason, I just didn't do it this time around. I used a slightly different audio recording method. I used OBS. Now, that OBS is a brilliant piece of software, but I think what was happening was Severity was having, I think, his internet connection wasn't exactly the best. His audio quality when he was on the call with me wasn't exactly brilliant. While it was perfectly fine for me to hear what he was saying, I think what was happening was Discord was actually doing its best to clean up the audio quality, but that's only for the case for the actual call itself, not for the actual recording that OBS was actually recording onto the hard drive. So unfortunately that is not actually reflected in the original recording, so as a result of that it's fairly choppy and it can be quite difficult to hear what they are saying in places, which is very unfortunate. But I didn't want to actually discard the entire recording because it was great fun to actually record it. So I will be still leaving the episode up as is, but what I'll do probably in the future is I will definitely be having them on again once again to record. I don't know whether we'll do the same questions again, or we'll get Severity on again anyway in any case, and maybe replace this episode with a new one with better audio quality, but I haven't quite decided as of yet. It's just rather unfortunate how this episode has turned out. It's mostly my bad. So what I'll know what to do for next time. So for every single podcast recording, I will have OBS recording, and in addition to that, I will get the other person on the end of the call to use Audacity or something like that to record their audio file, and then that way I've got like a fallback. I'm still learning. I'm still a bit of a novice when it comes to recording this podcast. You'd think after 15 episodes I would have figured things out, but audio gremlins still tend to get in every now and then. But regardless, I still hope you guys enjoy listening to this episode. And as another cherry to the top, unfortunately, the podcast does end rather abruptly again. I think Severity didn't have access to his laptop charger, so we had to stop when basically his battery was at like 6%. We still managed to do about just over an hour and a half. So yes, well, I think after cut down, it's probably less than an hour and a half. But anyway, I'll still hopefully you guys will enjoy the episode, and you might want to put a decent set of headphones on for this episode. Again, I do apologise to all the listeners out there and to Severity for this episode not turning out as good as I'd hoped. But lessons learned, and we will come back with better audio quality next time. I'll let you guys listen. Good afternoon, listeners and viewers, and welcome to another edition of the CitizenWolf audio podcast. This is episode 14 you're currently listening to. Or is it 15? I can't remember. I've already fucked it up already. Never mind. Doesn't really matter. I'll fix it up in the post. I always do this, but you know the drill if you decided to subscribe to this podcast anyway. So yes, thank you so much everybody for giving me loads of support in recent months on the podcast where I haven't been really active, and thank you for showing me all sorts of support and willing to keep going and listening to the podcast even though I haven't done anything for a good while. But to prove I'm not dead, I'm releasing another episode once again, and I've got another special guest to talk to today, and it is Severity Gray. Now, I'm not entirely sure if Severity is actually a person or an AI. I haven't actually figured out yet, but maybe we'll, in the next hour or so, I'll find out for sure, because Severity is a very mysterious individual. How's it going?
Kill all humans.
There's your answer, I think.
Oh, you're wondering, so I had to do this. Alright. Hello, everyone, and hello, citizen. Nice to hear you once again.
I'm glad to speak to you once again. It's I was supposed to have you on my podcast about a couple of weeks ago, but you had a nasty bout of pneumonia, which is quite
Yes.
terrible. But you've hopefully you've gotten over it, and but you basically said like, oh, it's pneumonia, it's fine, it's nothing major, it's nothing major. Okay, sure.
Yeah, there is nothing to worry about. Well, this hard life of mine gives me a pretty good, like, how do you put it? Stress resistance, I guess.
Oh my goodness! But it's just the way that you nonchalantly said it's fine, it's nothing. It's like a minor cold. You treated it as basically. So,
Well, we didn't really give it time to develop, so I was pretty fine ever since the doctors have defeated my high body temperature. So since it was under the norm, so I was fine.
So what did they do in the end? Did they
There
just
was
give you
nothing to
medication
worry
for it,
about.
or did they just give you medication for it, or?
Well, 3 drips a day, and besides the 3 drips, I also had 1 injection of antibiotics a day.
Mm.
Well, so it was 3 drips. 1 drip was for antibiotics, 1 drip for mucolytics, and the third had hormones in it.
Mm. So it's kind of like a steroid, I suppose, to help you get over it.
Yeah.
At least you've gotten over it. I was quite concerned about that because that's not exactly a good thing to have at any stage of your
Yes,
life, really.
definitely.
But
Well,
yes.
in my young age, it is really nothing to worry about. Oh, speaking of, one of the Russian Tsars, Peter the First, have died of pneumonia at the age of 41. Yeah, definitely nothing to worry about.
Nothing. I hope so. Anyway. Oh. It's just you see, just the severity just like takes it in his stride, just carries on. That's the way. That's the way they like to roll. But yes.
Yes,
But
that
yes.
is the way.
So let's find out whether Severity is an AI or not by asking a series of questions, or I'll be interrogating you for a good hour or so.
Am I a robot? Well, you can. Well, actually, I can get through the captcha, so I'm not an AI.
That's what an AI would say, though. You're not an AI.
Oh, well, do you want to go me to the Turing test or something?
You're more
Wait,
advanced than
wait.
ChatGPT, anyway, or whatever the
It
hell it is.
is a Turing test I'm going through right now, right?
Oh,
Because in this test, an AI is supposed to imitate a human, and if the human on the other end of the conversation doesn't think it is an AI, and if he thinks it is a real person, then the test is completed successfully.
oh my goodness. Oh dearie me. Let's move on then. We'll find out. We'll find out in either case anyway. So when did
Right.
so when did you actually first start making art? First of all, was this quite recently, or was this a long time ago? Did you start in the traditional sense, or did you start in the digital space when it comes to making pieces of
Well, it
art?
is really a hard question to answer because I have been drawing something ever since I could remember myself, like 3 or 4 years old. Well, my parents used to actually store my old childhood drawings somewhere, but recently they got rid of those, making me very sad and even angry. But as for the digital art, it really came in, I'd say, I would say, in the middle of 2018,
2018.
5 years.
Okay, yeah. So, So around 2018. So what was the most influential thing that made you decided to start making art? Was it like your surroundings, or was it a particular TV show or something, or a series that you got interested in?
Well, somewhere in the late 2017, I started to watch My Little Pony show, particularly the fourth season. And later, I have been looking for artworks. So eventually, I have found artworks of a few artists, such as Embris and the Cyber Apple 456, and and Elsa Skyspear. And this three basically made me decide to try starting actually drawing something. And well, some can say I had a talent for this. Some can say that I didn't stop and kept pushing even through the first results weren't very impressive, I would say. But well, this way I have made a lot of wonderful friends eventually, including you, Citizen.
Oh, shush. But yeah, like a lot of people in our friend group, I think started with MLP, I think, and then took it from there. Like a lot of people from the SFM
Yes.
background, other people like started off with vectors, such as yourself, and traditional drawing. Others with Blender and things like that. But MLP was sort of like a big sort of hub for a lot of people, I think, definitely.
I liked this show not only because of the idea it propagates, but the simplistic yet, how would I say this, interesting art style. It was pretty easy to replicate.
Hmm. So when it comes to, so when you're making vectors of your art, what program do you use to actually replicate the look of the show? What software do you use?
Well, technically, it isn't a vector art because vector is scalable and is built from the rather geometrical figures and shapes. But the way I draw, it's more like the rasteric graphics, actually.
Right. So,
Unlike the vectors, after I actually finish creating shapes or drawing them, I cannot change them in any way. I would have to erase them and begin again and let go.
was it an easy process to learn how to to actually draw the art digitally, or did it take a long time to actually get to a stage where you are at now?
Not really. Well, actually it was, but in some sense, because for at the very start I have been using the bases for art, which are plentiful in the MOP community, but later I have moved from it.
Hmm.
I have started to rather make art as a constructor. I have kept the bases and used them rather as the building blocks to actually make something new
Right.
instead of fully relying on what actually exists.
So kind of like a template of sorts in a way, and building from there.
I have actually bought a graphical tablet, but didn't really use it until 2033 or 2023. which is this year.
Mm-hmm. So,
as for the program that I'm using, it is called the Paint, so it is basically like Paint, but with a lot of different functions. One of such functions is layers,
mm-hmm.
unlike the Paint that is provided with Windows usually.
Oh, the MS Paint you're referring to. That's
Yeah,
that's
Microsoft Paint. Yes.
MS Paint. I use that MS Paint occasionally for really rough, like just for like literally just quick and easy copy and paste things. But I don't actually use it as a paint program. But it's useful for really quick editing of like photos and things. But like I don't ever use it like I guess professionally, quote unquote.
Well, speaking of programs, I also have MediaBank Paint Pro and Photoshop
I think
CS6.
C-
CS6.
CS, yeah, that's the one. That's like from like about like 2012, I think it was. CS6.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
pretty old, but very reliable, I would say.
yeah, it does what you need it to do. I use it to create transparency on things. It's really useful to have. It's like an old version, but it does the job. But can't be dealing with giving Adobe any more money. They just take the piss on everything. But there you go.
Mm-hmm. Did you actually buy it?
Maybe.
Okay, I understood you.
But it's the one that you can't get anymore. Like, have you still got the CD? Yeah.
Well, even if I decided to actually buy it, there are some really big problems right now that would not let me buy it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so even if you wanted to buy the legit version, there's logistical issues with that. I understand that.
Yes.
So, when it comes to like making you've got an OC, of course, and quite a colourful character she is. Like, what would you say is your process for making an OC? How did you come about like making a character? Like, what was the process to actually make a character?
Well, do you ask me actually about Cold Light or rather in
Let's start off with Cold Light
a
then first.
nutshell?
Let's do Cold Light then first of all, and then speak generally.
Oh, basically, first she came out as, well, you can say, basically she was a Fluttershy, but with streaks of dark hair. And looked like a Go Fluttershy from this artworks you can find on Derpy Buru. But later I have seen the works of Tenenbris and decided to change the color palette and the hairstyle. So the color palette was actually inspired by Tenenbris's OC Culpa, and as for the hairstyle, first it was a sour sweet hairstyle. Well, you may remember this one character from Equestria Girls.
Right.
And that is basically how she came out. As for the character of hers, imagine a mix of Twilight and Rarity. That would be it.
Right, like a mixture between the two of those characters.
Yes. Smart, but at the same time, a fashionable woman.
Ten and my
Cunning
arch
and,
nemesis.
well, you know, this kind that is in front of you by 2 turns. Or maybe 10 turns.
Tenenbris, my arch nemesis. Of course, he's been on the podcast like 3 or 4 times already, and like I cannot tell whether you influence him or he influences you, or it's a bit of both. You could be like one
It works both
amorphous,
ways.
you could be one amorphous being for all I know. but, like, but you know what Tenon's like.
Yes, very much. Right now, I see that he have sent me 3 messages that I am yet to answer to.
Has he done like the eyes thing that you like to do on Discord, like I see you?
Yes.
Of course he
Well,
has.
I don't really remember how it all started, but I think it started with me and Tenant, and later some people have started to use it too. Because, well, I see you. I'm in yours right now.
Is that like a reference from something, or is that something that you just like to do anyway? Is that like from like an anime that you've took it from?
I think it is both, I guess.
A bit of both. A bit of both.
Well, because, the art reflects reality, and on the other hand, reality reflects art.
Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of it's a two-way mirror basically. It's a bit of both.
Yes. According to two sides of the same coin, you may also say.
You and Tenon are definitely part of the same coin, I think.
Indeed, very much so.
I think Tenon will appreciate that when he listens back to this podcast.
Definitely.
So, what would you say influences you the most when it comes to making art? Is it like ongoing events, or is it just something that when it comes to making a piece of art, do you like just have an idea and then you run with it? What do you do in that scenario?
Well, as for right now, commissions are always commissions. But when I'm making something for myself, it is usually, I'm usually visiting a lot of different sites where people can post and share their ideas, such as, Twitter, Blue Sky recently, DeviantArt, even though with DeviantArt there have been issues lately, but nothing the VPN cannot deal with. I would say also Pixiv, Pinterest, and very rarely as its ArtStation. It's like I can see something and I would know that I want it on my OC right now. And so this little brain rot, this brain worm of mine, it starts to eat me until I make it. I cannot sleep, I cannot eat. I'm thinking about it all day until I finally sit, open my program, and make it through.
So when you see an idea, do you ever like write it down, or you just like actually I've got to actually make it now? That you literally just I've got to make it now. That's where you get to.
Well, imagine it's like I close my eyes and see it in front of them, in front of me. And so I have to make it through, or otherwise I would go insane.
It eats at you until you. Same with Tenon. Exactly. I can see why you share similarities with him. He has to.
Yes.
When he gets an idea in his head, he has to make it.
And with art, this mad passion.
And that's the way to be. I think like be passionate about artwork. It's when you get an idea or see an idea that you want to put down, like actually get round to making it.
From this passion and obsession comes our hate for AI artworks.
Yes, that's another thing.
As actually, people usually call them these products, these abominations as art, but as the definition on Wikipedia says that art must be made by a human by definition, because the AI simply reflects what already exists mixes them without any kind of passion, without any kind of attention to details, and gives you a product that is lackluster at best. And the AI, how do you think? How much time the AI needs to make a picture?
It's several times, and even still, like a lot of the time, they don't get the result that they're looking for.
For each one time, each one result, how much time is needed?
It's
Few minutes, even seconds. But as for me, and other artists, it takes us hours to make our art true.
to make it properly, like, and to make something that with feeling as well.
Yes, it reflects us. And what does AI reflect? A bunch of pixels. Nothing more, nothing less.
That's a fair assessment. It's unfortunate. It's more used as a thing to make a quick buck, isn't it? More than to actually make something.
It can be useful if used properly, but not as the people claim that it is art. It isn't art by definition. The AI is supposed to replace us, people, humans, in the works that require a lot of work that's simple yet repetitive and long, not in art, where it is the people who shine, not the machine.
Definitely. I've seen it used in like video games and stuff like that, like in cool ways, like for remastering like really low res textures. But it's in the art space.
Exactly. That is where it is fine, I think, but not in art.
But it's not really. You can't really. How can you really call it art? Yeah.
It's to increase the textures resolution, different resolutions of all the pictures, but when it comes to actual art, there's nothing to do about it.
No.
AI has nothing to do with art.
How so? Do you think that this AI art will continue to grow in quote unquote? Do you think it will continue to grow in popularity over time?
In popularity, I don't really know. Maybe it will just fall down, like with hopefully at least for me, like with NFTs.
Yes,
Like
that's sort of fell off. It's fell off a cliff, thankfully.
like until this very moment, how much time have passed since you heard about NFTs for the last time?
It's probably been a good 12 months, I think, since it was like the last time I heard it was big. About at least yeah. Like you've only got that, what's it called, that bored monkey ape thing that's in the news again. Have you seen that with the? I don't know, that people went to a party and like blinded each other with like some UV lights or something. I've seen that going around. But that more fucking weirdness with NFTs. They went to a rave or something and used like ultraviolet blinding lights, and like people have gotten injured at these NFT parties. I have to. I don't know what the hell was going on with that, but that was that's the last thing I've heard recently about NFTs. It's nothing but trouble.
Yes.
No.
Also, speaking of the AI stuff, recently, well, it was always controversial because of the artists who actually own the pieces that the AI have been using without their knowledge about it. Because it breaks the outer laws, and so it breaks the concept of the private property.
It's there's a lot of legal grey areas with it. You own the token, but not the thing that the token links to. I think
It's NFT.
Yeah, the non-fungible part of it. That's where it comes from.
And I'm talking about AI.
But there's a lot of crossover with that, isn't there? They're trying to like merge AI
Mm,
works with NFTs, and like it's sort of it's not. It's just horrible. I
yeah.
think it's every single person I've talked to when it comes to AIs and AI things and NFTs. Like a lot of people say, it's just nothing but trouble for the artistic space. Anyway, it's more intrusive and more of a way to make loads of money and not really make anything new or interesting with the skills or what have you.
It's scam, basically.
And that I think I can't really put it any more concise than that, to be brutally honest with you. But it's not it's a lot of disquiet in the artistic space, and like people have been pushed out of like their little spaces because of the space, like the oxygen given to AI made works and NFTs and stuff. But like we'll just have to see what happens in the coming years, I guess. Like see what happens with that.
Well, I'm still concerned because actually I have been noticing that the AI still keeps growing, and it just been a few months since the DAO-E Mini and all the simple first iterations of the AI, and now we have really complex and developed networks that sometimes can create results that are barely distinguishable from real art, and this concerns me a lot.
Like the line between those two things have blurred.
They will not let me lie, but there were many instances when I thought that the AI made picture was actual art.
I don't know how people can say it is art when you've let like a machine just generate it
Bro,
for you.
you can say that I wasn't really like cautious and didn't really look at the details enough. But honestly, I'm just tired of it. I'm just missing the times when I could look at art and know right that it was made by a human.
Yes, it's definitely a problem in DeviantArt anyway. That's the main site that seems to push it a lot.
Pixiv too, actually, really.
It's you could like you look at something, you think like did a machine make this or did like an actual person make it? I wish there was a way to filter all that out, like in the settings or something. But because I'm not interested in partaking in any of that.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, there is also an artist in our little group that have his quality of work have really degraded over time, and it looks like he is using AI to help him with pictures he is making, but I cannot really call it art anymore because it just seems like, well, basically it's very sad because he was a really great artist. I knew him very well, and now he just makes this kind of art.
Like taking a shortcut and like, at the detriment of their own skills.
Yes,
Yeah, that is
it
a
is
shame.
a big loss for our community.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
And people still give him money for this.
Well, if it's one of those, it's like if you start making money like for less effort, then people do. Some people, not everyone, some people do like to.
Yes,
It's the low hanging fruit, isn't it? When it comes to that.
like they are themselves, and I don't think they are really passionate enough to actually care about the details and the amount of effort that was put into the making.
Mm. It's a definitely a bit massive shame when it comes to that stuff.
Yes.
But it's not always an easy thing to talk about when when something like if it becomes a detriment to like the thing that you make yourself and the thing that you like to participate in looking at and enjoying and stuff. it's like when I first started making stuff with Blender, like it took quite a while for me to learn the basics, but like people who decide to use AI to supplement, like as like a shortcut, it's sort of like you're not learning how to make your own stuff on your own merit. You're letting a machine do it for you, and like it's soulless as well. It's
Well, in the end, it is the machine that is learning, not you.
so it's just kind of sucks, really. It's when it comes to that stuff.
Well, you can say this, yes, summarize.
um, but yes. Um, so let's move away from AI stuff because that's a kind of like a bit of a downer, I suppose. It's not like it's like one of those things.
I suppose.
I would say so anyway. So do you have a particular favourite artist that you enjoy partaking in, looking at their artwork, and always influenced you in any way?
Well, I can just say that most of the artists I like are my friends now.
Any particular ones that stand out to you the most?
Well, it would be my teacher, Cyber Apple 456.
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, we are making stuff that is like very, well, we are staying true to the art style of the My Little Pony show. And in the end, well, we make things different, but, and how we have been studying and learning a lot and getting much, much better than I am, I think. But it was him who basically told me everything I know now
Mm-hmm.
as an artist.
It's always good when like a friend influences you in such a way, and like you learn from them. It's a very special thing, isn't it?
Yes, very much so.
Like with me, without the help of J Dash and Hunter, of course, I would never got to the point where I am now. Like if they hadn't showed me how the software works, and they took the time out to make me tutorials and things like that, and give you the allow you to give you the start to actually start making your own things, because I didn't know who to ask at the time when it was, with SFM and stuff like that. I didn't really know
Yes.
anybody in the community at the time. It was it was there was no like tutorial for me to watch or anything like that. It was sort of a case of when I came to try things again with Blender, like I took a different approach, and when I was still commissioning people, I was like asking people what's the best start to make MLP stuff, and it sort of snowballed from there, and like it's just like when talking about going back to AI again, like when if you don't take the time to actually like learn how to actually make your own artwork, you're sort of robbing yourself the opportunity of creating friendships and relationships with other artists and things, like to learn from them as well, I think.
Yes, very much so. Speaking of, I am myself a bit of interested in 3D and have been taking a few lessons in Blender recently, and also I have built a course of lessons about Maya.
That would be cool, definitely. It's with Blender, there's quite a few bits and pieces out there in terms of tutorials. So it's probably a lot easier to get into than say Source Filmmaker for sure.
Right, but yet Source Filmmaker is still very, how do I say it? It's restricting because without the programs for 3D modeling, you have to work with what you can find.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I believe there is a lot of 3D models for SFME, but yet there can be times where you cannot find what you really need at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So that would be a good opportunity. Like if you can't find a model that you want to use in your artwork, you can have a try at making your own model,
Right.
which is fun to do. I've done a few models myself, of course. Nothing.
Yes, I can say that I made at least one model. I can show you sometime later. But it's a model I can proudly call my own.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like you've put the time in to actually make it yourself, and like make your own. Like you've made your own little piece of art, a little model art. That's what you've done.
Yes.
Even if it's like a really simple thing, you can claim it as your own thing, which is awesome. You can't. No one else can take that away from you.
Yes. Speaking of 3D, there is a friend of mine, People. He have been making some very lovely 3D art, which I would like to try to do something similar myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Always just take the time to learn the software and ask for tips and pointers, how they got to that point and stuff like that.
Yes.
And maybe even ask them, like maybe possibly to give you a copy of the blend file so you can actually look at how they've put the
How
scene
it
together.
works.
Yeah, how it works,
Yes.
exactly how it works. So that's always a good thing. But yeah,
The
like
lighting, the materials, the model itself, and also, well, speaking of myself, I'm such a person that I found myself in studying. There is no day that I would spend without studying something. I would listen to lectures on YouTube about different scientific topics. I would go through the lessons on Duolingo as I'm studying English and German at the same time. I would try drawing something or reading something interesting for me. Such as for now, I'm reading some of the Ayn Rand's works,
mhm.
such as the critiques of objectivism.
You quite so in your spare time you read an awful lot of read a lot of topics based on philosophy and history and
Yes,
things like that. So you also take influences from all these works and bring them into your work.
indeed.
So
There is no day I would. Well, basically, I'm trying to do something every day, at least something, so I can call this day as a day that I did something and that I didn't spend this day without a meaning.
gotcha.
You see, life is the most precious thing we have, each of us has. There is nothing more important than our own life. And so we all need to live this life to the fullest, but rather developing ourselves, not destroying ourselves with alcohol, drugs, etc.
That's a good mantra to live by, definitely.
Something I came up after my depression.
It's your way of dealing with like how you feel about current events and things like that. You keep yourself busy.
Yes, you can say that. So
Uh,
there is no time for me to actually lose by being sad, by being depressed or anything. I just keep pushing.
when did you decide to um, learn a second language? Like, was there a particular thing that made you decide I want to learn how to speak and read English, or how to read and speak German? What was the thing that triggered you to actually learn a second language? I'm always interested, like when I get like foreign, like a lot, pretty much everybody I've had on this podcast so far, most of them have English as their second language, not their first language. I always find it interesting, asking like different responses each time.
You see, usually there is a second language in most of the schools of the world that the kids need to learn. For example, in Russia, we usually learn English, German, or French as our second language. Very rarely I've heard there are Spanish teachers who teach the Spanish language. Uh, English I have been studying since my second class, when I was 9 years old. And honestly, I was very bad at it. I was until eventually my parents decided to find a tutor for me who would try to help me with English. And so they found. I have been studying for a few years with her, with my tutor, and eventually I have become the best English speaker in my class
You don't
because,
you don't have
well,
any problems with
let's
it.
say that I had a lot of problems, but nothing we couldn't deal with my together with my tutor. I had it seems that I really had a natural ability for studying something, but well, honestly, anything. I'm pretty smart actually, but well, you may have figured it out through our conversations.
So you practically learned it from a very very young age, and over time uh, you keep using it on like on a regular basis with your friends and things like that. So it's you say it was definitely beneficial to actually get to grips with a second language to interact with other people.
Indeed, ever since I started drawing in 2018, I have met a lot of wonderful people who, well, most of them were English speakers, and the only language we could speak together with them was English.
Mm-hmm.
So, by actually conversating with these people, with my friends, I was able to learn English myself and become even better in it. But speaking of the second language, it is my dream to know at least two foreign languages, as I plan to learn French after the German language.
So how's your German then, or your Deutsch, I should say? How's your German?
I would say that, well, compared to English, it is very bad. But I'm getting through.
So, yes,
It's a
well,
slow process.
I always find it interesting because, like, of course, like we British, we are just, besides being terrible, full stop, we're terrible at learning languages. But like, but that's like a common trait that we all have. We're just really bad at learning second languages and stuff. But I just always find it interesting, like what everybody's motivation is for learning a second language. Like in our little artist group, or a little friend group, I should say. A lot of the people in there, of course, have English as the second language, and they all speak it incredibly well. I just find it amazing how they all have got different motivations to actually learn it and stuff. Like J Dash was like, he's probably the funniest example. Not like it wasn't too. I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but like he didn't learn English just to like speak to other people. He just basically wanted to know what Twilight and everybody was doing in this fan fiction or whatever it was. So in order to find out like what they were doing, you had to learn the English
That
first to
sounds like
understand.
Jadish, honestly. That sounds like something you would do.
Yeah, it's something so simple like that. Oh, I want to find out what Twilight and the gang are doing in this episode of the show or whatever.
It's
So like
okay.
that was his motivation to learn it, not to like go to
Gang
different.
of Six.
But yeah, I will get him on the show at some point if it kills me. But he's been proving elusive at the moment. But yeah, but that's just that's one of the many motivations. I think Ten just learnt English just to mock me. I think that was his sole. That's his sole goal in life. He's like his calling, I suppose. But
Uh,
but I think
for
he'll
me,
probably agree with that
what do you
assessment.
think for me? What do you think about me? What was my motivation?
Oh, you asking me? What do I think your motivation is?
Yes,
Uh oh.
to follow you and go under.
Uh, that's a good question. The ever mysterious Severity Gray, you are still an enigma to me in many places, many cases, I should say. I
As
would
it should be.
like, I would have said like you learnt it specifically as a means to broaden your horizons and a chance to meet new people. I would have said that was your main motivation, or become your main motivation. I would say to learn a second language. I guess like I suppose like the best language I suppose is the one that all your friends are speaking. I think that's a fair assessment to say. You
True, true.
the one that your friends can communicate in. I suppose I'm not being I'm being biased, of course. It's just like everybody happens in our group happens to speak really good English and lots of no issues with it at all, really, which is quite amazing, really. But yeah, it's always a really interesting thing to find out with people what's their motivation to in the artist world. Like, why did you learn a second language? Was it like to meet new people? Was it to get like to a broader audience and what have you and stuff like that? It's fascinating. I really do find that really interesting, and you are easily one of the most interesting individuals. I'm not saying that just to just to wind you up, but that is generally the truth.
Yes, I
It's
think so.
that is the honest to God truth. The most.
I love myself too. Thank you.
It's like because as I say, like it's me when me and you first spoke to each other. Like it wasn't exactly the most wasn't the most. It was fairly rocky to begin with, but then like sort of like the friendship formed and all that stuff, and like changed into something really cool, which is really not, which is amazing.
That's how it usually goes for me, actually.
With a lot of people, you think?
Well, the hardest thing for me is the first impression.
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, when I tried, some people just thought of me as like one of those annoying fanboys, who come to you and pretend to be your friend just to get free art from you.
No, speaking
I
from
met
experience, I take it.
a lot of people like this myself. I don't really want to name them today, but
Of course,
I
yeah.
guess you yourself can name a few people such as this kind.
Yeah, speaking from experience, then you've had like quite a lot of people like just to try and get. I think that's a rite of passage for every artist, though. To be fair, I think
Definitely,
it's
yes.
like people asking for free things and like not knowing the amount of work that goes into making a piece of art and wanting it for free. It's
Yes.
it's not like a unique experience. A lot of artists like maybe to different extents, of course, but like of course a lot of some people do have really bad experiences. I think a lot of your friends have had like really bad experiences in the past regarding that sort of stuff.
True.
But yes, but without going into too much detail, but it's definitely something that a lot of artists like go through at some stage, like people asking for freebies and things.
Yes,
But yeah,
and when they don't get what they wanted, they start to tell others that you are an awful person, that you are an evil and basically a greedy man who just wants money from making art. But this isn't really true.
no, it's not. They just try to get under your skin, and like people do get people get like really manipulative and stuff like that. I haven't had any issues like that, at least recently. Not for a while anyway, and I tend to be a lot better at detecting people who are trying to like put it on. I like if people send me a DM on Discord or whatever, I say hi or whatever, but I don't actually. I see what I have to say first, and then like I make a decision. Like you can fuck off, or you can be blocked, or whatever, what have you. You good day into the shithole bin. You go shithole. but yeah,
Can't have in Birmingham.
come to Birmingham and see how bad it is. Shit out.
I can imagine.
Oh, dearie me.
Well, I can say that my whole country, my entire homeland is one big Birmingham. And also a good comparison would be Detroit for our American friends
Yes.
and listeners.
Oh my goodness. So yeah. So what else have I got on my list of questions here? I'm just like flitting between them to and fro here. I hear you're quite a Metal Gear fan. So we'll go into the Metal Gear because you are probably the biggest Metal Gear fanatic in my friend group by a country mile and then some more. So when did your love affair with Snake and all the military espionage and all that stuff started? And when was that from the very first game on the PlayStation days, or was it later than that?
Well, myself being born in 2000, in the year 2000, and as a person who have never had a PlayStation of any kind, yes, I am entirely a personal computer enthusiast. Well, so I couldn't really play any of these old games. And even if I had a chance, I would not play them because, well, they are very old. They have, you need some really dedicated programming to actually make them run on something like a computer. And then you would also need a proper controller to make them work as intended. And so I just don't want to mess with it all. And for myself, I have played, yes, only two Metal Gear games. It would be Metal Gear Rising and Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So
As
I
the
haven't played
military
5.
aspect, As for the military aspect, I have been born and grew in fairly militaristic society. That, with boys playing with a lot of toy weapons, they are told from the very beginning, from their childhood, that man is a military person, that every man is supposed to be a defender of the motherland, and that we are all soldiers, and with this camaraderie and grandeur, it is really hard to not fall for it.
So your cultural upbringing, like where you live, like naturally led
Yes.
into your love of that sort of your why you like the series so much. I'd have thought
And
that yeah.
not just this very series, but the military themes as a thing itself. And there is also such a thing as my love for firearms. Well, myself, I dream about. Well, I'm actually saving money for buying a few firearms for myself.
Like for personal use, or like just because you like them, or
There are many reasons.
right.
First of all, is self-defense. Second, my love.
So was your love of military stuff, for lack of a better word, like was that before Metal Gear? Was Metal Gear after?
It was
You,
before.
before.
It was before, even before, well, basically since my very childhood. And of Metal Gear, I have learned like in 2016 or 2017 when one of my friends gave me a disc with Phantom Pain. And well, honestly, being a little kid, I didn't really get through the game as I was honestly actually scared to play past the first mission where you meet some of the the soldiers of Skullface. I mean,
It's I've never really. I think that they've re-released a collection on Steam, haven't they? Like with what I think 1, 2, the first 2 games and a few others as well.
well, the first few games are honestly for me were like a movie. I watched how do you call it? Well, basically a game movie.
So we just all the cutscenes all together.
Yes, swap together to basically make something like a movie.
Yes. So what would you say is like your favourite storyline out of all of them that you've seen so far? Do you like the older ones or do you like the newer ones better?
I would say it would be the Shadow Moses. I don't remember which part was it out in numbers, but it was the story about the Shadow Moses incident. And definitely Metal Gear Rising.
It's Metal Gear Solid. Well, not just Metal Gear Solid, but Metal Gear as a
Well, Metal
franchise.
Gear Rising it's like a goofy spin-off, you can say. And that is why I like it.
It,
Also, the music in Metal Gear Rising was something else.
so it's kind of like a parody of itself, like in the same vein as like Metal Gear Revengeance. That
Yes,
sort. It's like
it's pretty much a parody of itself, with the biggest aspect of the game being even, well, how do you say it? Even bigger, even more accentuated, I would say.
like
Exaggerated. Yes,
exaggerated. Yes.
that's what.
I
Exaggerated.
certainly think so. Like with all the memes and the and the stuff that keeps coming out of that game alone, it's pretty.
Means
It's
DNA of a soul. Yes, yes, yes. You can say it's a resurgence of the Metal Gear.
you cannot get enough of the memes, can you? Like when it comes to Metal Gear, you cannot get enough of.
Definitely, definitely. Well, you can say that the amount of memes a game creates can be a sign of quality.
It must be amazing quality then, like the amount of memes that you get out of it and find.
Yes. And all the memes I have shared with you.
And you don't seem to ever run out of them either,
Indeed.
which is pretty terrifying. I think I'm pretty sure you make your own Metal Gear memes just to keep the train going. That's what you do.
I have to say the old parts of the franchise were pretty good too about this. Like, you can remember that was it Snake Eater where you had to fight the elite squad of super soldiers such as Death or Sorrow.
I can't remember. Probably the one I remember the
Well,
most.
there was this one very old sniper guy called the End.
Yeah, the end. Yeah, there's an old geezer with a sniper rifle. I think, like, if you wait, I think he just dies on his own. I think, if I
Yes,
remember, which
if
is just.
you just log off the game and wait for 2 weeks, or you can in the settings set the time 2 weeks in front of real time, and when you actually find the end, he will die of old age.
It's just that sort of thing that, like, it's like that sort of thing that, like. But yeah,
It makes Metal Gear itself.
it is that's Hideo Kojima, isn't it? In a nutshell, like
Yes.
his games sort of have that sort of cachet, sort of that
Oh,
hallmark.
like you can say that for anime, it would be Miyazaki who would be the genius. And as for the Japanese games, it would be Kojima.
Those two things, like your two beloveds in the world.
Well, these are the two authors you really need to check out their works. Oh, speaking of, I actually need to. Well, recently I have got my hands on a copy of Death Stranding.
I need to play that. Like, let me know if that's any. I really want to. Hideo Kojima. You can tell it's a Hideo Kojima game because of how strange and weird it is. But
Well, you can say that. Well, it is not for everyone because many people thought it would be a shooter, but it is. I don't know how to properly call this game
it.
because it is a lot of. There are different aspects of it. So there is a lot of walking in the game. Some people even call it a simulator of walking, but it isn't really about it.
It's more of a FedEx simulator, isn't it? But in a post-apocalyptic FedEx simulator. I really want to try it. Like you got this really harsh environment. You got to deliver these packages.
If you would delete the platform of the game, it would be the simulator of a post-apocalyptic post office.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic post office. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yes.
Post-apocalyptic Birmingham.
It's like, did you watch Evangelion?
I've heard of it, but I didn't watch it. No, that's another thing I need to watch.
Watch. Everyone need to watch because, well, it is a must watch basically. So there was in the original first anime the how was it called again? So basically there was an episode with a 2 minute long lift ride, and there was Asuka and Rei in this lift, and basically for 2 minutes there nothing happens. They just stand in the elevator and do nothing. Only for the tension to rise between them so high that Asuka just breaks and starts yelling at Rei.
Oh my goodness.
It was it was actually one of the greatest moments in anime of all times.
Would you say that's your favourite anime series to watch? Evangelion?
Definitely one of the favorites.
I've seen a few. Black Lagoon, that's fantastic. I absolutely love Black Lagoon.
I need to check out this myself.
Black Lagoon is absolutely fantastic. I
watched. Yes,
the whole series and the OVA as well. So yeah, but I'll strongly recommend watching that. It's such a watch one episode. You can't put it down. You'll have to watch the whole thing in one. That's a mark of a good series. If it holds you.
For now I'm watching some Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so basically I can't really pay for Netflix, but interestingly, so the whole thing about Russia, right?
Yes.
So there is a Russian copycat of YouTube called RootTube. Yeah,
right.
I know, very creative.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
And so some people somehow got episodes from Netflix of Mandalorian, or is it Disney Plus? I don't know.
Yeah, right. So rip it and put it on there.
People have acquired these episodes in good quality and uploaded them on YouTube without caring for the author rights.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, sadly, it is the only way I could actually watch them. Because if I could, I would pay.
But once again, the circumstances don't allow you to do that.
Yes, because, well, when your country is cut off from the SWIFT, it is really pretty much impossible to pay for anything abroad. And, well, especially if, because of the Demon War, actually the currency of your country falls down 2 times in worth.
Mm-hmm.
So as for right now, one ruble basically is 1 cent.
So practically worthless.
And 100 cents would be $1. Yes, very much worthless.
So it's a case of getting the content whenever and wherever you can, basically.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, we have our own, you can say, browser called Yandex. It is very useful to navigate in the post-Soviet web space.
I've heard of that. I've come across that before. I think Yandex. I think
Probably.
like
Well,
a
actually,
file
Yandex
host.
is
Yeah,
one of the biggest IT companies in Russia.
and they handle a lot of the infrastructure over there.
Well, not really, but I think, well, we have some internet providers here as well. And, well, honestly, one of the good things, a very few good things about Russia would be its cheap and fast internet. It is relatively cheap as well. For example, my family pays 1,000 rubles per month. Basically, it's $10.
That you can't really for $10, like $10 a month. That's barely anything.
But well, we have an unlimited connection to internet and fast and quick enough. Like for example, well, some very heavy games that would wait for more than 100 gigabytes. Well, in a few hours, I would say 2 or 3 hours, it would download without any issues.
That's fairly quick then. If you can get that amount in such like a couple of hours, that's
Well,
pretty good.
it is fairly quick for the price. There are faster and better options, but well, they are more expensive. So
Right,
why paying more?
bet
Yeah,
it's not really worth it if what you've got now is sufficient.
pretty much.
Uh,
For example, how much do you pay for internet?
for hours, how much do I pay at them? I pay £35 a month. Well, that's about like $45 ish in current exchange
$45.
per
So
month.
that's basically like 4 times more than I pay.
Yeah, basically for full fibre. So, but yeah, so we do pay through the nose through a lot more comparatively compared to what you pay for.
Mhm.
But it's
I
definitely
see.
better than like what you get in the States, where like you've only got like one provider in a lot of states, and you've got no choice of who to go through. So at least
Yeah.
that's one thing we'd say we've got over America. We've got better broadband. I think that's one thing I can think of. At least we can pick and choose which broadband provider to go through. But that's clutching at straws, I think. But
Well, Russia, there is quite a few providers too. I can say there is a local provider in my town. It's called Kirjach Telecom.
mm-hmm.
There is also Tritech that my family is using, but the basically monopolist in this sphere it would be Rostelecom,
So
Russian telecommunications company. And there are also a few companies that takes a few niches. For example, there is three-color TV that basically is a monopolist in the field of uh, satellite TV.
so do you also have satellite TV where you currently are, or is it just the
Well,
broadband you've got?
because of the size of the country and because of the long distances between the towns, the most common type of TV you see is dish TV. So there's like you can imagine a five-story building with apartments, and it is all around lined up with little white dishes.
Yeah, all the way down, all the way along the block.
Yep.
Satellite dishes.
Well, basically, as the satellite is on the geostationary orbit, and it is always in the same one single point of the sky. And all these dishes would look at this point and receive the signal from it.
Do you get a lot of channels from in your part of the region, or is it quite limited?
As for now, we have something like 350 channels, but, well, honestly, most of the time there is nothing to watch.
Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? You've got all those channels, but nothing on there.
Yeah.
Nothing interesting anyway.
Yes. There is always something, but nothing of interest.
Should watch British TV. You'll fall asleep. It's just shite on our TV. It's just. I don't really watch TV anymore. Really, I only have it just to play games.
Myself
That's all I've
too.
got a TV for. These days, I don't barely watch anything anymore. It's just.
Well, I have YouTube, so I don't really need a TV. So,
Yeah. So if you got access to YouTube and stuff like that, and RuTube.
also, most of the TV channels make a translation on their own site, so you can always open up your computer and just watch this channel that you want to watch online.
So it's like what it's like with when you've got access to things like on the internet and things. It's sort of like, what's the point of like normal TV anymore? It's just like just don't bother watching it.
Indeed.
So your love of anime then, like when did that actually start? Was that like around the same time as Metal Gear, or was that like after the fact?
Well, not really, because it all started for me. Say it was 2019 when I moved to. Well, it was during my education, and during my education, I lived in a university dormitory, and there I met a friend of mine called Konstantin, and he had a very great passion for anime, and so together we started watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that's basically it all started.
So basically, based on the recommendations of a friend, you got into it from that way, and like that's where.
It wasn't just recommendations. He was there all along with me in the same room, and together we watched anime.
Oh, that's one way to do it. Like if you if your friend's in close
Yep.
proximity, to start watch this and we'll watch it together. That's how it starts.
Yes, and also we had dinner together all every day. I miss those times.
So
I didn't knew you through, and some other people I care about now. So, past is the past. No one will return to 2007.
Around 2007 that you first started watching it.
Well, 2007 was the year when I went to school. And the first time I actually got internet working in my home was 2014. Because, my parents are pretty conservative, I can say, and they didn't really need internet at the time. So why would they pay money for it if they don't need it? But eventually I was able to convince them because I needed it for my school studies.
Yes. So what would you say is Evangelion's one of your favourites? What would you say like is a good one to start off with to recommend to somebody?
I wouldn't really recommend JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for anyone to start with. But, can say. Well, personally myself, I watched Kakigurui, I watched Mirai Nikki, I watched Death Note. Death Note is a must-watch.
Death Note.
Evangelion itself is a must-watch. Well, every work of Miyazaki is a must-watch, such as
all the Studio Ghibli ones.
The Walking Castle, or for example, Carried Away by Spirited Away, or how it's called in English.
Yes, Spirited Away. Yeah. So basically, any of the Studio. Is it Ghibli or is it Ghibli? I don't really know. Studio Ghibli.
I don't remember myself. It was a long time ago.
But yeah, the Miyazaki's often considered the Disney of the Japanese animation world, isn't he? He's like highly regarded in the field.
By the way, I've heard that Japanese call any kind of animation anime.
It makes sense, I think, because like the word anime, like it's a loan word, isn't it? They borrowed it from English, I think, originally to call it as a catch-all term for animation.
And this word came from which language? Or from which language?
I originally thought anime was actually English. The word was from English, and then it was Then
Well, they
Japanese
usually
borrow. I thought it
have
was.
borrowed a lot of words from two languages. It would be Roman language and Greek language. Well, honestly, most languages did.
Yeah.
So if you think of it, of every language, more than 70% of the words that actually build up this language are borrowed from other language.
Yeah, loan words. Yeah, loan from another language.
And the remaining 30% would be would be the base of the language, like grammatics and stuff.
It's definitely English is full of stuff like that, like words borrowed from other languages or stolen. If the British like to steal things, British like to steal things, don't we? But
Yeah, and into museum, yes.
and put it in the museum and charge a hefty sum for people to look at them, the artifacts and things. But yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, this reminds me of a meme. Is the British Museum actually returned every find to its rightful owners? And like, the British Museum, but just empty.
There's this like it's always been the argument where like the British Museum, like their core argument was like for having all these artifacts is like they would all get lost. But now like people have been like stealing from the British Museum back from there and the artifacts have been going missing. But that argument doesn't really hold water anymore, does it? Well, you can't even keep the stolen stuff safe anymore. Like, because artifacts have been appearing on the black market and stuff like that, and they've been missing for months and months. Some of these things they've kept in storage, but like people have been like slowly picking apart the collections and stuff. But anyway, that's another issue for another day.
Most likely, it's the employees of the museum probably selling them off.
Yeah, it is. But like, it is quite funny in a tragic kind of way. But like, it's so British to be so shit at everything. And even shit at keeping artifacts that we've stolen safe. We're shit at that as well.
Well, maybe people can say that the British are evil, or that the British Empire that was something very awful. But honestly, I believe the British Empire was one of the biggest achievements of humanity.
Oh, dear me. That's another topic for another day, isn't it?
Yes.
I know you and Tennant love to mock the British. We're not all that bad, trust me. I try not to.
Remind me, which country the Industrial Revolution came from?
It come from England. That's where it started.
Indeed. Indeed. Later, it spread out into the Europe and America.
That's where it all started. Well, that's where all the problems started.
And also, say, for example, the British scientific, how is it called, bureau, or so. Well, British people actually made quite a lot of improvements and scientific discoveries that changed our world. So
yeah, definitely. There is a lot of.
honestly, you did your part. You did your good part for the progress and the development of our kind. So
I wouldn't say it balances out though, but you know, but yeah.
Mistakes were made and lessons learned. You can say that, right?
Of course, that's the best way to look at it. Lessons learned.
Like, well, honestly, through all the entire history, well, since we all have been shitty people, not just British.
But yeah, but now we're just pretty good at being shitty, just in general. You know, like that's the way we like to be. We're just curmudgeonly people, and like we like to complain about everything and other people. we don't like to be liked. I think that's the thing. I need to find some ammunition to use against Tenon, but I'm trying to find like what stuff about Norway and stuff, but like I was really struggling.
Unlike our homeland, Norway have actually never built a giant evil empire.
No, they haven't. No.
So from his standpoint, it is very easy to mock us.
Yeah.
You know,
I tried to like
no, I'm
think.
actually Polish, not Russian, so
Well, that's one thing. Like you can, if you want to, that's one thing to disassociate yourself with things like. But yeah,
yeah,
um,
it's easy really to say that I'm a Polish, not Russian, and not have any backfire or anything that some things like if I supported the special military operation or something like if I was an old Russian monarchist that would want to reincarnate the empire that was built on the bones and backs of the terrorists, or say the Soviet Union that sacrificed millions of people for the greater good that never came, and basically its entire existence was pointless. So
so and you take all that as like as a means to live. Like you look at people's past mistakes and things like that, and like try to be better. That's
yeah,
your mantra that
yes,
you take. Yeah, that's a good thing to do.
right.
But I was just speaking like in terms of like the with the Brits again. It's sort of it's everybody loves to clown on the Brits like, because of like how we are and what we did and things like that. It's a really easy thing to mock us for and stuff like that. But like I guess I only do it like for the memes and stuff like that. I don't like to dwell on. I don't dwell on like people's past cultures and current cultures so much like for the sake. Really, like I don't.
Past is the best.
So I guess so. It's just a case of I don't really I don't care where people come from. It does all that stuff doesn't really matter to me. I've learnt that people of doesn't matter where you come from or what your skin color is or like what your accent is or whatever. All that stuff doesn't matter at the end. It's
Because it indeed the case.
it's always it's the person that you're speaking to. That's the most important thing. And what's
There
their
is no bad nation. There is no bad race. There is bad people.
exactly? And that can come from any creed and culture.
Or rather, you can say there are bad individuals
Oh yes,
who are very mean to others, but, well, they get what they deserve at the end. Most of them. Yeah.
so let's see what else have I got here. How many beloveds do you have?
Uh,
so so you,
Next question.
you've got that's your probably your favorite. That's your catchphrase, I think. Beloved. If it is
Yes,
one of
one
your
of the phrases.
and like it's a term, one of your favorite turn of phrases. Like you've got you must. I was saying I was going to compile like a spreadsheet of all the beloveds
Yeah,
that you
but
have.
you eventually gave up.
I gave up because it was just it's too much to do. It's way too much to compile for one person
Yes.
to do.
So,
Um,
basically, for me to like a character, I need to either like the looks or the character itself. And well, it just happens that it's mostly some kind of like psychopaths, mean people, or basically some weirdos.
so what sort of so other than characters, what sort of criteria then like do you apply when like oh that's a beloved or that's not quite a beloved? Do you say you do
Well, looks are important,
looks? Okay.
I would say, because as I just said, it is either the character itself or the looks of the character that make me interested.